right, so get ready because we're diving deep into all these saving strategies.
It's going to be good.
That you shared with us.
Yeah.
Talking about, actually helpful advice.
For sure.
And like busting some myths about saving.
Yeah.
Really making that money work harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, you know what it sounds like from these notes you gave us? Mm-hmm. You are ready to just like take control of your finances and like
100%.
build a more stable future.
Yeah, let's get you there.
Okay, so like right away, this guide is calling out a big myth about saving that I feel like trips up so many people.
Yeah.
Have you ever like wondered
how
some people just seem to save so easily, even on a smaller income?
Yeah.
But then others, they just like struggle, even when they're making more money.
It's so common.
It makes no sense.
Right. It's like, what's the secret?
It's a head scratcher for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So like, what's the deal?
Well, the answer is kind of simple, actually. It's not really about how much you earn. It's more about how you actually manage the money that you do have.
So it's not about like earning more. It's more about just like managing it better.
Exactly.
Oh, right.
It's like, imagine you have two buckets, right?
Okay.
One of them has a bunch of holes in it.
Okay.
And then the other one is like, nice and solid, watertight.
Mm-hmm.
You can pour tons of water into that leaky bucket.
Yeah.
But you're always going to be losing some of it.
Right.
It's the same thing with your money.
That's such a good visual.
Right.
Like I could totally picture that.
Yeah.
So how do we like patch up those holes in our bucket then?
That's the $1 million question. Right.
Because this guy doesn't just like stop at that big picture.
Oh, no.
He gets into the details.
Yeah, it gets into like the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
The stuff that really makes a difference.
Exactly. And one of the things I saw was budgeting, which,
of course,
can be kind of like, oh, yeah, we know.
Right.
Everyone's got a budget.
Everyone's got a budget.
Right? Like everyone says to budgets.
Exactly.
But this guy goes deeper.
It does, yeah.
So what makes this approach to budgeting different?
Well, it's about being really intentional with your money.
Okay.
Like, it's not just about writing down what you spend. It's about understanding where every single dollar is going.
Okay.
And then deciding, hey, does that actually line up with, like, my goals and what I want to be doing with my money?
So it's less about, like, I can't spend money.
Yeah.
And more about, I'm choosing where it goes.
Yes, exactly. It's about making your money work for you.
I like that.
Right.
Because then it feels like you have a little more control.
Totally. And you know what? One of the most powerful things they talk about in the guide is categorizing your spending.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like when you actually see where your money is going.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm spending this much on groceries, this much on eating out, this much on transportation.
Yeah.
It can reveal some surprising areas where you might be overspending without realizing it.
Oh, totally. Because it's so easy for those like little expenses.
Oh, tell me about it.
To just like fly under the radar.
Yes. Those daily coffees.
Yes. The daily coffees.
Exactly. Or the impulse buys at the store.
Hey, yeah.
They add up so fast.
They really do.
Yeah. And this guide, it emphasizes that awareness is key.
Makes sense.
Once you have a clear picture of where your money's going, you can actually make informed choices about it.
Okay, so it's like that awareness first.
Exactly.
And then you can make those choices about cutting back or,
Right, or prioritizing what's important to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You get to decide.
Okay, so that brings us to something that I am all about.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Automation.
Ah, yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Because who couldn't use a little autopilot in their financial lives?
Right.
Like just taking the decision-making out of it.
It's brilliant.
Genius.
The guide actually talks about the psychology behind why automating your savings works so well.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, it removes that decision fatigue.
Yeah.
Like when you're constantly having to choose between saving and spending.
Right.
It's exhausting.
It is.
So this way, it's like you're tricking your brain into building good habits.
I love that.
Right.
So instead of relying on willpower, we can set it up to just like happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Setting yourself up for success from the get-go.
Yes. Love them.
By setting up those automatic transfers.
Okay.
From your checking account to your savings or even your investment accounts.
Okay.
You're basically saying this money is spoken for.
Love it. And you know what's cool is that this guide goes into how even those small transfers can totally add up over time.
Oh, for sure.
Because of compound interest.
It's the magic of compound interest.
Okay. Break that down for me.
So basically, your interest starts earning interest.
Okay.
So your money grows exponentially.
Wow.
Not just linearly.
Okay.
So it's like a snowball rolling downhill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
That's a good visual.
And the earlier you start, the more time that snowball has to grow.
Okay, so you've sold me on the automation.
Good.
But let's be real, we're all human.
Oh, absolutely.
And sometimes we make impulse purchases.
It happens to the best of us.
Even with the best of intentions, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like you said, we get decision fatigue. So how do we combat that?
Well, this guide has a great strategy for that.
Okay.
It's called the 24-hour rule.
Okay, 24-hour rule. I've never heard of that.
So it's super simple, but it's really effective.
Okay.
Whenever you feel like you want to buy something that you weren't planning on getting.
Okay.
Especially if it's not something you absolutely need. You just hit the pause button.
Literally.
Yeah, like mentally.
Okay.
Give yourself a full 24 hours to think it over.
Okay.
No adding to cart. No justifying it by saying, treat yourself.
Oh, that's hard.
I know, right?
Especially when it's right there.
Right.
But just a full day to cool down.
Exactly.
I could see how that would be a game changer.
Right.
Because it gives you that space to really think, do I need this?
Yes.
Is this worth it?
It helps you to really assess, does this purchase align with my budget and my values?
Exactly.
It's all about making conscious choices.
Yes, exactly. It's like you almost trick yourself, right?
It's true. You're basically hitting the pause button on that impulse.
Yeah.
You know, in that cooling off period.
Yeah.
It lets you come back to it and actually make like a more thoughtful decision.
Totally. Instead of getting caught up in the moment.
Exactly.
Which, speaking of being mindful about our spending, this guy also talks about like this whole concept of living below your means.
Yes.
And I'm not going to lie, when I hear that phrase, I kind of cringe a little.
Really? Why is that?
It makes me think of like rice and beans for every meal.
Oh, like you're depriving yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love a good pot of beans.
Right, of course.
But it doesn't sound like the most glamorous lifestyle.
Right, I get it. Living below your means, it can sound kind of scary.
It does.
Like you're signing up for a life of like no fun.
Yeah, exactly.
But this guide reframes it in a really cool way.
Okay.
It's not about restriction.
Okay.
It's more about like making conscious choices about where your money's going.
Okay.
And making sure that those choices line up with like what's actually important to you.
So it's about finding that balance, right?
Exactly.
Between enjoying life,
yes,
but also being responsible.
Exactly. You don't have to cut out all the fun.
Okay, good.
It's more about being thoughtful, like, do I really need this new gadget, or would I rather put that money towards a weekend trip with my friends?
Oh, I like that.
Right. Things that are actually going to bring you joy.
Yes. Experiences over things, right?
Exactly.
Or like quality over quantity.
100%.
Yes. Okay. So instead of like trying to impress others with like, all the latest stuff.
Right. Like keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. It's about investing in like what really matters to you.
Exactly. What truly aligns with your values.
Okay. I'm into it. So how do we actually put this into practice?
That's the question, right?
Yeah. Like, are there certain things this guide says to do?
Yeah, they actually recommend questioning your purchases.
Okay.
Before you make them.
Like every single one.
Especially the ones that aren't like essential needs.
Okay.
So before you buy something, ask yourself, do I actually need this or do I just want it right now? Will this add value to my life in the long run or will it just end up like shoved in a drawer somewhere?
It's like being honest with yourself.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, is sometimes easier said than done.
Oh, totally. Especially with online shopping, it's so easy to just click and buy.
It's so true.
But taking that extra minute to be like, wait, hold on, do I really need this? It can make a huge difference.
Okay, so it's about being present.
Yes.
Like in the moment of making that purchase.
Exactly, being mindful.
And you know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Compound interest.
Ah, yes.
Which you were explaining earlier.
Right, it's like that snowball effect.
Yes. And this guide doesn't just talk about saving.
Right.
It goes a step further and talks about investing.
Yes, because saving is important.
Right.
But investing, that's how you really grow your wealth over time.
Exactly. So for someone who maybe hasn't really dipped their toes into investing yet, what are some key takeaways from this guide that they should keep in mind?
Well, first of all, you don't need a ton of money to get started.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, the most important thing is just to start.
Okay.
And luckily, there are so many different investment options out there.
There are.
Oh, yeah. So you can find something that aligns with like your risk tolerance and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Okay.
And also like what your financial goals are.
So it can be tailored.
Exactly.
Okay, so it feels less intimidating.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
I like it. And, one thing I saw in the guide was this concept of diversification.
Oh, yes. Diversification is key.
Okay, so break that down for me.
So basically it means not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Okay, which makes sense.
Right. Like you don't want to put all your money into one single investment.
Right, because what if that one goes down?
Exactly. That's the risk you want to avoid.
Okay.
So diversification is about spreading your investments out.
So across different things?
Yes. Like different asset classes.
Okay. What are some examples of those?
Sure. So you've got stocks, bonds, real estate.
Okay.
You can even invest in things like art or collectibles if that's your thing.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, there are so many options.
That's so cool.
And by diversifying, you're reducing your overall risk.
That makes sense. Because if one investment isn't doing so hot.
Exactly. You've got others to hopefully balance it out.
I like it. So it's like a safety net.
Exactly. It's like a buffer.
Okay, so how do we actually diversify, though?
So the guide actually offers a couple different approaches.
Okay.
One is the percentage-based approach, where you allocate a certain percentage of your portfolio to different asset classes.
Okay, so like maybe 20% here, 30% there.
Exactly. And then there's the fixed amount approach, where you invest a set amount of money in different assets on a regular basis.
Okay, so it's like a more structured approach.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
That's really cool. I feel like a lot of people hear diversification and they get overwhelmed.
Totally. It sounds complicated.
Yes.
But when you break it down into those concrete strategies, it feels much more manageable.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I love about this guide, is that it really does break everything down
Yes.
into actionable steps.
Exactly. It's all about empowering you to take control of your finances.
Yes, and it emphasizes something that I think is so important.
What's that?
It's that building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes, that's so true.
It's about making progress, not being perfect.
100%.
Like that old saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
I love that.
And this guide really embraces that idea.
It does. It reminds you that we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're not going to get it perfect right away.
Yes, and that's okay.
Exactly. It's all part of the process.
Yes. Embrace the stumbles.
Right. Learn from them.
Because I know I've definitely made my fair share of financial blunders over the years.
Oh, me too. We all have.
It's all part of it.
Exactly. It's about learning and growing.
Yes, and it's so refreshing to see a financial guide that actually acknowledges that.
Right. Like, it's okay to not be perfect.
Exactly. We're not robots.
Right. We're human.
Yes. And we're allowed to have off days. We're allowed to make mistakes.
Exactly. We're allowed to learn as we go.
Yes. And it sounds like this guide really embraces that.
It does. It encourages you to celebrate the small victories along the way.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Because it's not about making these huge, drastic changes overnight.
Right.
It's about building sustainable habits over time.
Yes. Little by little.
Exactly. And celebrating those small wins keeps you motivated.
I love that. Like giving yourself permission to celebrate those milestones.
Yes.
No matter how small they are.
Exactly. It could be like, hey, I brought my lunch to work all week.
Yes. Or I finally automated my savings transfers.
Yes. Those are big wins.
They are.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to build new habits.
Exactly. And celebrating them reinforces that positive behavior.
Right. It's like we're not just talking about money here. We're talking about like behavior change.
Exactly. It's about rewiring those habits.
Yes. And that takes time.
For sure, it's a journey.
It is. Okay, so
Not a destination.
this whole deep dive has been incredible.
That has been fun.
Like we've covered so much ground
We really have.
from, those myths about income and saving
Oh, right.
to like, that automation stuff.
Yes, automatic savings,
Yes.
that's huge.
That was a big one for me.
Right. Makes such a difference.
Mindful spending.
Being intentional.
Yes. And then even like touching on investing a bit.
Dipping our toes in.
Yes, exactly. But before we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to go back to that whole thing about small
Yeah.
steps leading to big results.
Yes,
Because it feels like this guide really hammers that home.
it does. It does. And you know what? They actually have this really thought-provoking exercise at the end.
But tell me.
It asks you to think about just one small change that you can make today.
Yep.
Based on like everything we've talked about to kind of kickstart your savings journey.
I would love that.
Right.
Because it's not about like,
Overhauling your life.
yes, it's one thing.
One small step
Okay.
that you can actually commit to.
Yes. And then build from there.
Exactly. It could be something like setting up a budget tracker
Okay.
or maybe automating just a $20 transfer to your savings every week.
Okay.
Or even just bringing your lunch to work one day a week instead of buying it.
Yes. Like anything
Anything, just one small thing.
to get started.
Exactly. It's about proving to yourself that you can do it.
Yes. And building that momentum.
Yes. Momentum is key.
Okay, so we'll leave our listeners with that.
Yes.
That question.
What's that one step?
What is that one small change that you can commit to today
I love it.
to start this journey?
It's been so fun diving into all this with you.
Me too. This has been so insightful.
I hope everyone listening feels empowered to take control of their finances.
Yes, and to build that more secure future.
Absolutely. You got this.
You got this.
On that note,
Until next time.
we'll see you next time.
Happy saving, everyone.